What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Made You a Mixtape podcast, the veritable soundtrack of life, where we turn our guest of the week into a mixtape of awesomeness. And that mixtape of awesome this week is none other than former Raptors cheerleader, Holly Nimens. Holly, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Jay.
Now, aside from being a former Raptors cheerleader and broadcaster, you're also one of the creators of Runway Dance Connection. So what is Runway Dance Connection?
I am. So Runway Dance Connection is a series of live dance competitions normally, but we pivoted with COVID going on. And right now it's virtual dance competitions and conventions that we're putting on. It's my sisters and I. So Riley, Kelly, and myself, Holly. And I'm that nice little middle child syndrome. And so you put all three of us together basically. And between my creativity, my sister's producing and like organization, and my little sister, she's a professional dancer in LA. So she has all those connections, networks that we need basically to bring all these incredible dancers, studios, and choreographers kind of all together from pretty much all over the world. So at our last dance competition and convention, we had kids from China, from India, from the US. Here, we're actually now expanding and having another competition May 15th and 16th coming up actually. And it's now international. So we're hoping to bring in actually some dancers from Australia to Britain, actually some from South America, still obviously lots in Canada as well. But yeah, it's exciting just because we were planning to kind of keep it to just Ontario when we all got started. But with everything that's gone on, it's actually worked in our favor. And we're now actually be able to bring dancers and choreographers and people like this from all over the world and see what they are working on, what they have to offer, and like how we can all learn from each other is pretty incredible.
Obviously, like you said yourself, the goal was to kind of start in Ontario. And then, of course, everyone gets told to stay home, kind of a pandemic kind of thing. So as far as a virtual, convention and competition, how was it putting together that first virtual competition?
So putting it all together, it was definitely a challenge, but it was something that we had already basically planned out 5 live competitions in Ontario, booked out the venues, announced ourselves. And so we had already plans in place for that. So when it came time to actually pivot and go more virtual, we basically had to figure out obviously streaming services. And then from there, we had to figure out basically how to get everyone connected and reaching out to obviously all these dancers from all over. But a lot of it did kind of coincide with how you would handle a live event, but now it's virtual. And so whether that is the scheduling, the judging, the bringing on just sort of different people to help out with the convention, and hiring specific dancers and teachers to do all the choreography and teaching, it's very similar, just it's now obviously online. So it's figuring out how to do Zoom, which plan is right for you and which streaming services are best suited for your type of event as well. But yeah, it's definitely been a learning curve for sure, to say the least.
I think, let's be honest, the entire last year has been a learning curve for everybody.
Oh my gosh, yeah. 100%.
So when you think about just how, you kind of got thrust into a global, situation with all of this, what has the perception been like? Has it been something more than you could possibly imagine? And then going forward, because eventually vaccines are going to be in the arms of people, we hope. And,
100%.
Do you still think the virtual is going to continue even when you are still doing in person?
That's a great question. And at this moment in time, I can't totally answer if virtual will be 100% there, because we are now starting to talk about kind of our 2022 plans. And that definitely includes hopefully some live events, because there's honestly nothing actually to perform on an actual dance stage and seeing all your favorite family, friends, peers, and competitors also in the audience watching you and competing against those other dancers. It's hard to explain that feeling. And so I do hope there are live events, but as for when we when we started the virtual and having to kind of pivot and everything, because we launched like 3 days before COVID hit last year. It was like the Monday, we're like, we're Runway Dance Connection. And then like Wednesday, it was like NBA is like shut down. And we were like, cool. So what do we do?
Thanks, Rudy Gobert.
It was just like one of those, we were like, the world is shutting down around us. And we just like, what? Like how are we going to handle this? So for the first bit, honestly, we just, like everyone else, we were just like staying low and like taking it for what it was, you know, that whole like, let's like flatten the curve, 2 weeks, guys, like, you know. And then as like time went on, we were like, okay, like, should we look into maybe doing virtual? Like, let's see how this could work. And then once we did do our first virtual dance competition and convention, that was back in February of 2021, we, the craziest, coolest part for me at least was all these dancers. So we broadcasted it through Facebook Live, and all these kids and their parents and like their choreographers and studio owners, they all went to Facebook to watch, but not just that, like they were all commenting and like pumping each other up. They're like, yeah, go Melanie, you got this, girl. I'm like, yes. And then like after the competition, the next day was the convention, and a lot of those dancers obviously came to the convention as well. And it was so cool to see all these dancers that like had kind of competed against one another the day before at this convention and just like pushing each other. But also they were then going to Instagram, like following each other and commenting on each other's photos, saying like, you totally deserve that award. You were so good. And it was just like, I'm like, these kids live like in different countries, some of them, but we've connected them. And it's like, it brought such like an incredible kind of like experience for all these kids. And like, it was amazing feedback we had from like all the parents and studio owners. So in that way, it was like one that like warmed my heart. I know a lot. And like, along with my sisters, cause we were just like, yeah, we always thought like, great, like social engagement. Like my mind's always going marketing. So I'm like, okay, how do we promote this? But it's like the kids just genuinely enjoying themselves and making friends out of it, whether that's virtually or like hopefully one day in person. Great. But it's like, for now, it is only virtual. So let's bring that positivity and let's just like make sure that they're honestly having like the best time of their lives. And that was what actually like made something so incredible.
With everyone kind of staying at home, and especially the performing arts being pretty much told to stand down, whether it's, musicians, bands, dancers, actors, like basically everything that's a performing art has been told to like, be patient, be patient, be patient. And then all of a sudden you have this, gathering, this community of dance, like having it all out there virtually for everyone to enjoy. Did you find that, having that virtual competition, that virtual convention was almost a catharsis for people who missed, the live performance aspect?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally. There were so many dancers that we kind of had come to us afterwards and just say like, I miss dance so much. And I miss just like being able to take classes from like different choreographers, or like a lot of times, like for conventions, like you don't get to bring those choreographers into the studio. We had names like Autumn Miller and Krista Miller who have millions of followers. And then we also had Brian LA, who's danced on World of Dance and danced backup for J-Lo, to someone like Joey Arrigo, who was like the star of Cirque du Soleil. So it was like we brought on so many incredible performers and teachers and choreographers that like these kids had the time of their lives and just like were able to actually take class in their own homes too, and be able to just like ask these people questions, to being able to like just let loose and be themselves as well. So it's really nice.
So how did this come about? How did Runway Dance Connection, like what was the spark that started this?
That's actually a very good question, because funny enough, the person who actually came up with the idea and came to us about it was our mother. And she called us on Mother's Day, actually, in 2019. I Let me think. Yes, 2019. And she was like, you know what? I think you three would be incredible with all your like different strengths. I've obviously hosted and helped with dance competitions before. My little sister has judged. My older sister puts on many live events and live shows as it is. So it's like between the three of us, she was the one who kind of like brought all her strengths together and said like, look, like you guys are like interested and excited to do this. You should totally look into it. And we're like, okay, good idea. Like, let's all think about this. We'll come back to it in like a month or two. And that's exactly what we did. My older sister and I, we went to California to visit my little sister. While we were there, we all had kind of like a full meeting because my sisters and I were also best friends. Like we actually are. Like we're very, very close. Like they aren't just sisters to me. Like I call them with anything going on in my life as well. So we were all just like, okay, if we're going to do this, we need to also know that when we're in business meetings, we're in business meetings. When we're out of those meetings, and then we're sisters and best friends again. But we need to find a way to separate it, but also no matter what happens, we all still want to stay very close. And so that was always our biggest like one thing. But yeah, after we kind of got working on it, we had like a million ideas that got brought to the table right away. And after that, it kind of just got taken off.
Obviously, there's so many different genres of dance. So for someone who's actually interested in the upcoming virtual convention and competition, what kind of, or what genres of this dance are being covered in this?
Yeah, so we pretty much cover all genres. The only one would be that might have some trouble recording would be a tap if they're recording tap at home, just because you need those specific microphones that in the studio usually has. Otherwise, we have jazz, lyrical, contemporary, ballet, hip hop, musical theater, point, you name it, we probably have it. Or there's open Indian Catholic to, we had someone who specialized more in crumping, or we truly have all the styles, song and dance. We welcome every single genre because our judges are also known choreographers, performers, dancers, teachers themselves, and they know all the different styles. So they have a great array of styles to choose from, and they know what they're talking about.
Now, you obviously have a dance background, as I mentioned at the top of the show, being a member of the Raptors Dance Pak for a couple of years. How did you get started in dance and kind of your dance journey?
Yeah, so I started actually dancing when I was in grade 6, but the only reason I started was because before that I was a figure skater, and I went to a stretch and strength class for figure skaters at this local dance studio. And that year I also went to the dance recital, and I remember telling my parents, like, I want to do that. That looks like so much fun. And so I got started there, and I loved it. Like, I remember my first year, I took 5 dance classes. It was like hip hop, an acro, jazz, lyrical, and like something else. The hip hop, though, I will never forget because it was to Aaron Carter, Aaron's party, and I got to be Aaron Carter. And I was so pumped. I can't tell you how pumped I was to be a dude. But I like told my entire school. I like told my whole family, extended family, didn't matter. But that was like one of those moments that like I was like, I'm the coolest human ever. Like, watch me do this. So that was like my first like really like true like recital where I got to perform as for dance. And then after that, I went from recreational to competitive pretty quickly just because I was so excited. And like once I'm into something, I'm in it.
So, and then you obviously you went to the Raptors Dance Pak. How was that? But you were also in Florida as well before that.
Yeah. So actually I danced for probably about from grade 6 up until grade 11 or so. And for my grade 12 year, I went to Switzerland. It was a Canadian school based in Neuchâtel, Switzerland. And while I was there, I started my own dance group at the school, and I put on a huge dance show for the entire town that we lived in. It was called Neuchâtel Evening of the Arts. And I made I choreographed and created an entire kind of like recital where we had a dance number to then we had a musical or theatrical number. And I remember my mom came for it. We raised around like, I remember $5,000 for multiple sclerosis. And after that, I then auditioned and made it into University of Florida for dance. And I went there on scholarship. It was probably one of the craziest actually like audition processes that I'd ever gone through. But once I got in there, I was in the dance program for about 2 years. I didn't love it. So I actually auditioned and joined the dance team there. So I got to dance for football, basketball, pretty much any sport. You name it, I probably danced for it, even swimming. And yep.
I'm just trying to picture the routines for swimming.
I know. Trust me. It was more just like, okay, don't slip.
Oh, God.
I mean, hey, like they gave me scholarship money, so I will never complain. But yeah, so I danced at Florida for 3 years. It was incredible. I got to go to Sweet 16, Elite 8, and they would charter like a flight for like the dancers and band just to go and perform. So like that to me was just kind of crazy. And so once I graduated from Florida, I came back to Toronto, and I was at that point kind of looking for a job, and I had other ideas kind of, and then it was like one of those that like, you know what, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to go audition for Raptors. And when an audition for Raptors, I have always been that kid like walks around with probably too much confidence. And I was like, I got this. Here we go. Walked in. I obviously put everything I had into it, and I came out and I danced with the Raptors for about 2 seasons. It was amazing because obviously those were like 2 seasons where they actually like came back. We had traded Rudy Gay and we'd made playoffs for the first time in years.
I was about to say, like, I can imagine there's a difference when you are, part of the dance team for a team that's doing well, as opposed to part of the dance, team for a team that is looking at, for its overall draft pick the next year. How is that difference? And then, like, of course, being able to dance during the playoffs.
Oh my gosh. Like that first year that I was on the team, like that we had Rudy Gay up until I'd say, I think it was like November, December, they traded him. And I will say like those first few months, seats were so empty, and like dancing for that arena, it was obviously like a little less exciting just because, but at the same time, we didn't know better because that was my first year. That's what I was walking into. But all the other girls who had done it before, they were like, oh, this is normal. Like we're used to this by now. And then once we obviously started doing well, we started to sell out. It was like it was insane. Drake at that point had started to like kind of like come in and say like, you know what, like I'm kind of up for, we did Drake night for the first time that year. And then we went to playoffs against the Brooklyn Nets where like we all know the famous like F Brooklyn. And that was just like, it was like everything was just like so like multiplied basically. And like, it was incredible. We were sponsored by Foot Locker that year and Canada Goose. And so it was something I had never really like seen or been a part of until like I was in it. I was like, this is obviously super cool. So yeah. And
for people who don't quite understand, there's a lot of work when it comes to being a member of a professional dance team for like a professional sports team. Like how much practice did you have to put in before each game or like throughout the entire season?
Absolutely. I'd actually like to outline, when I was at Florida, I did practices Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday evenings. And I had workouts at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I did minimum 1 appearance per week, plus every single home game for basketball, football, baseball, and then other sports as necessary. And then with the Raptors, we did practices Monday, Wednesday, Friday evenings. They obviously expected you to work out on your own time, but they definitely provided us with the equipment. And then every single home game plus many appearances. And so it is, I would say very much close to a full-time job, just not your normal hours.
Obviously, as a dancer, you have to deal with a wide variety of songs, like an expansive catalog. Do you find yourself, when you listen to a song, do you find yourself being able to listen to and just enjoy a song, or do you all of a sudden start slipping into choreographer mode and it's like, okay, this 4-step here and then I have to move this way?
Or guess. I'll let you guess this one.
I'm gonna guess that it probably depends on the song. If it's something that's probably in a routine, you probably can't get your head out of the choreography. But if it's something brand new, maybe you're okay.
It's rare that like I actually truly enjoy the song. I don't know the last time I listened to a song and didn't think, oh, like this move would look good right there or something. And I automatically start choreographing in my head. Like every single time I'm in the car, like listening to either my own playlist or listening to the radio. And it's one of those that I will listen to a song till like the death of it. And I will listen to it over and over and over and over again until I have a full choreography set in my head for that song. And like, I know it off by heart, which is kind of crazy because then it's like, it's all in my head and I haven't actually performed it like in studio or anything, but that is like my like go-to. I'm like, okay, I will listen to this over and over and over to make sure I get that exact count of 8 that I need to perform this.
So what is it that all of a sudden like sparks? Like when you listen to a song, obviously like certain things will actually, trigger, thoughts and whatnot. What is it about a song that all of a sudden gets you into choreographer mode and you're like, I need to dance to this song?
Definitely, of course, listening to like the lyrics and actually feeling it. So it's definitely the first time you listen to a song, you're just listening to kind of the words, but also thinking like, okay, which category would this be in? Jazz, lyrical, hip hop? Like it's very quickly in your mind. Okay, I could see this kind of routine to this. I would love to, like, if it's a love song, I would love to see a male and like female or like 2 females or whoever acting out this like scenario that you have in your mind of like how this song should play out. And so it's so quickly kind of like changed over in your mind as to how it's supposed to be almost played out in a dance routine instead of an actual song anymore.
Do you find yourself, obviously, I mean, from my own perspective, and I've mentioned this on the show before, I play in a couple of bands and more often than not, there's a lot of covers, and I've lost track of the number of times that I would be in a grocery store and hear one of the songs that's in our set list, kind of play over the speakers and be like, oh, okay, second set, we're good now. Do you find yourself, when you're out, whether it be, doing groceries, you hear a song where you've performed it before, and all of a sudden you're like, nope, not dancing now, not dancing in the cereal aisle.
Oh, you see, I wish I couldn't do it. I straight up will. And like, it's super embarrassing at times, but like, I also like, I'll do it like very slowly. Like, especially like, I always like kind of walk around with my like my earphones in half the time as it is. And I'll just kind of be standing there like, bum, 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 da, da, and like, cause I don't count music too when I dance, and it drives my dancers crazy, but I'm like, okay, so we're going with sounds. It's like, boom, ga, ga. And like, they're like, okay, Holly, sure. And the thing is that whenever I go out with girlfriends though, too, we'll go out or before COVID, when we'd go out to like a club and like go dancing or something, if a song came on that we knew, or after like also a Raptors game where I'd sometimes go out with like the girls there, and like, I remember Uptown Funk was the song at that point. And it would come on always like over the speaker, and all of us had just like done a dance to it. So we all basically back up and we're like, okay, here we go. We got this, and do the entire choreographed routine. Whether I was with those girls or not, I probably still did it. But that's always been me. But like, that was also who I was kind of like at Florida. Like my girlfriends, like I remember being there and they were just like, they would like push people back and make a circle for me to like dance in, just because like, if they didn't, I'd probably still be dancing there on my own anyways in a corner. But I love it. Yeah. It's just like, it's a form of expression, right?
You mentioned something just now, and I found it fascinating. See, as a musician, when I'm listening to a song, I find myself instantly in lock with, the count. whether it be the 4 count, or I listen to a lot of progressive metal, so the 15, 16 count sometimes. But you just said you don't count to the songs. And in my mind, that just seems like I don't know how you would hit that choreography without doing the count. But for you, it's more the beat that carries it.
It is. And for me, I will always count my dancers in. So I will always say like 5, 6, 7, 8. And then after that, it's to the beat, or the beat that I hear in my head for that moment, or it's to the lyrics. And it's just kind of how I've always been. It's not in any way how I was taught. It's just, that's how I interpret the music, and that's how I connect to it the most. And so whether it's Uptown Funk, so the like Uptown Funk you up, like it's for me either the lyrics or the bum 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 bum, and there are no 1, 2, 3, 4 for my
see, and it's funny because Uptown Funk is a song that I have played live, and as soon as you start to do the Uptown Funk, and the only thing I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, it's all of a sudden it's like I can't not get out of the count. And I find it fascinating that as a dancer, you're not actually in the count, but you're into the beat. It's kind of mind blowing, actually.
Yeah, well, I know many dancers who are sort of that way, and I do find it's one or the other. I used to drive my duet partner like crazy because I never counted the music, and she knew that, so she always felt she had to like watch me out of the corner of her eye because she didn't know what I was gonna do. But it's how I hear the music basically, and so that's how I'll interpret it and choreograph to it at the end of the day, because in that moment it's you're interpreting it for yourself, right? So it's how you feel.
And you mentioned before that you also did figure skating as well. So the transition from figure skating to hip hop dance for the Raptors Dance Pak, how is that, and how do you go? What's the difference in choreography for figure skating and for hip hop dance?
Very different. Very different. Yes. So figure skating, obviously, it's much more, when I was doing it, it wasn't, I'd say, as progressive as it is now. And it was more about being graceful and elegant and classy and showing your beautiful lines to the judges, and a lot of time dancing more to a bit slower songs, so you could elegantly embrace what the choreographer had sort of planned for you. It was less skating to the music that you would prefer, at least for myself, I know. And so I enjoyed figure skating. I got into it when I was 2 years old because my older sister was doing it. So I wanted to be just like her. And I was at the skating rink anyways because she was skating. So my mom's like, you know what? Let's throw her into it. And I was lucky. I was like a pretty talented figure skater. And so a lot of it came naturally to me, but I for me, never enjoyed that I couldn't skate to the songs that I wanted to. And it was always these slow kind of, to me, boring at the time. I know they weren't now, but when I was 10 years old, I was like, I don't want to skate to like, it feels like Shakespeare basically in like a song, like no. And so it was a lot of no lyrics and very, in the moment, it felt a little, the only word that's coming to me right now is pretentious, but I don't want to say that word. We'll go with it.
I can get that though. Like when you think about figure skating, instantly, you get that almost sweeping classical feel, like that, that Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata kind of feel all of a sudden, like, but you see more and more, figure skaters that are competing today kind of almost pulling away from that. I think, do you find that, that seems to be the trends, like where before it used to be, no, it has to be very much a traditional classical Mozart, Beethoven, Bach kind of piece, or something even contemporary classical, as opposed to now would be like, okay, you're going to go figure skate to Rob Zombie.
No, 100%. Like I completely agree with you, what you just said. And I would also compare it to gymnastics floor, where it used to be a lot more very classical, very known songs that you would perform to. And now it's so exciting. Like I love watching the Olympics for like, especially like the dance category in figure skating. Incredible. I love it. Especially the Canadians nailed it at the last Olympics with their song choice. It was engaging, it brought you in, and they had fun with it, which like in the past, that never happened. So I love that.
As a judge, because you have judged as well as far as dance competitions go, how much does the performer's song choice actually weigh on you as a judge?
Honestly, it can't weigh too much on you just because one, you've probably heard this song before. Or it's also, it's how they perform and how they engage with their own song. So whether I like it or not, I honestly don't really think about it. It's how they just kind of try to draw you in right away. And it's how they either get right into it or sometimes they're maybe a little afraid to get into the character of it. And so it's how they truly embrace the song at the end of the day. It's not so much about what the song choice is, though.
You just mentioned getting into the character of the song. And you mentioned earlier too about, the lyrics playing a bit into the choreography. How much of, your choreography, your dance is, movement and rhythm, and how much of it is almost, for lack of a better term, acting a role based on the song that you're actually dancing to?
That's a great question. I would say it depends on the style of the dance. Absolutely. Because there are definitely some styles where you don't need that character and you don't need to play a character. But then there are categories such as song and dance or musical theater, and it's all about playing that character and really getting into it, making that character your own, basically becoming who that person's supposed to be. And so for that those characters are definitely weighed a lot more on how they get into that persona and how they truly perform it. But then you have obviously ballet and even some types of hip hop, and you've got tap. There's a little bit, but for that, it's definitely more about the technique, the movement, their true training, and like, are they getting right up on that point? Are they getting low enough to hit that like crumping move? Are they actually making the sounds that the tap shoe is supposed to make, or are they kind of skipping over certain steps? So it's all about kind of the style, but if they're doing it properly.
As you have a bit of a diverse background as far as like your skill sets and your education, because you mentioned there's dance, you went to Florida for that, but you also have a broadcast background as well, going to the College of Sports Media and, then working in radio and, working in the broadcast
I also have
industry.
a Bachelor of Science actually too, from University of Florida. I switched programs.
I did. Again, I did not know this.
Yeah, there you go. I'm like, you know what? I'm just I'm like a charcuterie board. You got a bunch of different options.
Okay, I can not now forget that. Holly Nimens, the charcuterie of everything.
I wish. It's like some of the cheeses are so it's like maybe that's a little bit, but sorry, keep going.
Oh, we're good. We're gonna start talking charcuterie now. We're good. And now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So, but with your sisters, okay. So,
yeah.
So Riley has a broadcast background. Right.
She does.
And Kelly has a very hardcore dance background. And you're kind of like in the middle with a little bit of everything, the charcuterie, if you will.
There we go.
How much does it help that you have that wide set of skills between the three of you and you're trying to put together something like this?
Absolutely. Like my skills from both broadcasting, dance, and just being able to also still continue teaching and choreographing now, I would say has helped us a ton, but also there is no way I could have done this without both my sisters. And so Kelly's background as a professional dancer in LA, she's performed for brands such as Adidas, Maserati, and been flown to China to perform for so many incredible brands and actually toured across North America as a star performer. And then we have Riley, who's a huge producer right now for W5, and she's producing content that just is so incredible in the fact that the stories need to be told. And she's an investigative journalist. So what I'm trying to say basically is that without both of them, there's no way this entire competition could have been put together, along with the rest of my family as well. It is a huge family fun effort, and my parents are extremely supportive. We're very lucky. They've always pushed us to go after our dreams and what we see for ourselves. Then we also have an older brother that actually some people don't know that we have, because the three of us obviously came together for dance. But my brother is a huge support, and he's always helped us and kind of guided us as well, because he's our older brother. He's always been that protective guy that just like, he's always been there for us. So we're very lucky.
Now, you talked a bit about the community that was created with the online competition and the community that you had, like, basically the camaraderie you had with, the Raptors Dance Pak. And now you've got coming up soon a podcast that you're working on.
I do. So Mariah Sousa Sampson is she's actually still the captain of the Raptors Dance Pak, which is now known as Northside Crew, because it's gone co-ed and they decided to change the name, but she's still the captain of it at the moment. And she's been on the team for about 8 years. She's a broadcaster and host on the side. And so her and I basically became good friends when I joined the team back a couple of years ago. I'll go with that. And we fell like in love with each other. It was like one of those that our personalities just, we can't not laugh when we're together. And it's always like hilarious. We're extremely, what's the word here? Just like honest, unapologetic, and able to be kind of like our craziest, like silliest selves with one another. And so we've always kind of talked about just how with social media, especially, it's always about, that persona that you show the world, but there's so much that people don't see. And so we're all about basically embracing those sides of people that people are very high to show they're very scared to show other parts of themselves, because people have fallen in love with this one persona and they don't know how others will take the rest of them. And so we're like, you know what? Who cares? One, and two, let's just embrace and normalize just being who we are. No one's perfect. And let's kind of get over this whole idea that everyone is perfect, because I'm definitely not.
So when the podcast comes together, what are people going to expect from that? At least some of those first episodes.
For the first few episodes, we will be interviewing some notable individuals within the sports industry, all the way to entrepreneurs. We have musicians to some actors, actresses lined up. And we're just excited to basically get to know people on a new level. But also, we will be sharing some interesting tidbits about ourselves along the way and having some fun with that. And the camaraderie between us is definitely one of those that if you're looking to have a laugh at people who really enjoy laughing at themselves, that is definitely going to be our specialty.
Now, you are still in touch with some of the dancers on the dance crew.
Yes.
How has it been for them with the Raptors being stuck in Tampa and not being able to, be kind of a part of that because of everything that's going on?
So I know it is extremely hard to just not even be able to perform like for the live games and be part of it how they normally would be and have been in the past. But they are definitely finding other ways to be part of things, whether that's through social media or just writing blogs and being part of it in their own way and connecting with each other off the court, obviously. But it's extremely hard for the entire arts industry, I'd say. And I know dancers from both the Raptors Dance Pak to my little sister, who is good friends with a lot of the girls who are on the Lakers dancers. And I know for even them, they're also having trouble because no dancers anywhere are performing for live events right now. So it's not just us, it's the entire world.
Not being able to perform, not being able to, probably teach in person, not being able to basically do the things that you'd love to do. Has this past year been a toll on you?
I mean, if I said that it wasn't, would you not think about me and just be like, you got problems, girl? But yes, absolutely. It's definitely taken a toll on me. And for anyone it hasn't, I'd almost be surprised and like interested to learn about how it hasn't taken a toll on you, because it's been a crazy year for everyone. And so for me, I would say it's taken a toll just in the fact that when we obviously introduced Runway and everything that went along with it, of course that got pivoted. And then I am a full-time content creator and I lost a client there, which was a very big client for me. I'm now back with them, obviously, because things were able to reopen at one point last year. And so it's taken a toll on me in ways that I never expected and never thought that I would have to think this way, but I'm happy it has. And I've definitely done lots of reading. I've found other ways to go about it and kind of change my life and for the better at the end of the day, after, having the glasses of wine that started COVID. But after that, then I definitely have to say that I embraced it, basically, because if you don't, then you will, at least for me, I was like, I will look back and regret it if I don't just basically embrace it. And so that's a part of how like I helped with the virtual dance competition with my sisters and getting that up and running. And then now starting to think about a podcast that can be online, and like you're killing it right now, obviously, Wes. And just like, it's all about just kind of embracing who you are and who you want to be at the end of the day. Yes, performing at live events isn't possible at the moment, but there is social media. There is a way to still get yourself out there in different ways that you never probably thought of before or didn't really want to do. But I've definitely challenged myself, and it's actually worked out. All the kind of like scary little ideas that I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but like, here we go. And it's worked out, and I've learned a ton, and I'm happy for it though.
I have to ask, normally I find a way to ask people what the first album they ever bought was, but because of your background, I'm going to have to say, do you remember the first number you actually performed to?
You know what? My mom put me in ballet at a younger age, and I don't remember that song, to be honest. But my first one would have been like I'd say Aaron's Party by Aaron Carter for dance. That was the one. And then aside from that, for figure skating, there was a good couple of years that I did the same routine, and it was to Looney Tunes. Oh, yes. I had the most like ridiculous costume, and I always got comments because like all these judges were like, whoa, wasn't expecting this to come to the ice right now. And it's like this little 10-year-old that like has all this energy and like bubbliness. And like, that was like my shtick, where I was like huge smile, obviously. And I loved that routine because of how upbeat and like exciting it was. And so that was probably the one that I'd remember for figure skating. I
am absolutely trying to figure out what the routine would look like for this, but I would totally be into watching that. That's amazing.
Yes. Oh, I can send it to you later. It's an embarrassing one for sure, but it's one of my favorites.
We're all good. We're all good for embarrassing here. Okay, so we've gotten to the point of the podcast where we break down our guest and put them as a mixtape, if you will. All right. So Holly Nimens, if you were to introduce yourself to a complete stranger, but instead of actually introducing yourself, you basically hand them a mixtape, a charcuterie of music, if you will. And basically said, the songs on this tape tell the story of me. What songs are on that tape and why are they there?
That is a loaded question. Okay.
Loaded with charcuterie, might I say.
Exactly. Okay. So I would have to say the song When I Grow Up by the Pussycat Dolls was one that like, when I was a kid, All I wanted to do was be famous. And honestly, like even to this day, slightly like, yeah, 100%. I still want to be famous at some point, hopefully. And if I was ever on like lip sync battle, that would be the song I would 100% choose. I can remember dancing to it when I was like in high school till like when I was in college, and my girlfriends were just like, yeah, that's Holly. She enjoys being in front of the camera, basically. Shocking. And so I would say that one for sure. I would have to say Stronger by Kelly Clarkson, because everyone needs that like one motivational song to kind of like whip your butt into shape and basically convince you not to quit when you're in like those moments. And I would say Evacuate the Dance Floor by Cascada. It's not a great song, 100%, but I've definitely danced to it many of times. So it's one of those that I just, wherever I am, dance has always kind of been one of those saving graces for me. So I would have to say that one. Let's see here. Okay. This is a bit of an embarrassing story to go with this one. The song is Lose Yourself by Eminem.
Okay.
And when I was in figure skating, I will never forget, I was on a synchronized figure skating team. We were all set to go out for Worlds. We had just won Canadians, and I was on a team where it was pretty much like 16, 17-year-olds than me, who was 13. And I had braces. I wasn't a cute kid either. I was like barely 5 feet. And my coach always had this like one like motto. She'd always say like, okay, guys, let's think about Lose Yourself. We would play this song so everyone would get in the mood and like get ready to go out there and like get after it. And then she'd go, okay, is everyone in their bubbles? And finally, right before Worlds, I felt it was the time to ask her. I'm like, does the bubble ever pop? And she's like, Holly, this is in your own mind, okay? Like, just like, I'm just asking you to focus is really what I'm asking you to do here. She's like, don't lose yourself. And so that song kind of always, for me, always connects me with figure skating. So it is also obviously like a great song, you know, Mom Spaghetti here. Aside from that, I would go with, I mean, with COVID and everything going on, I definitely like one of the songs that came to my head right away would have been like Wake Me Up by Avicii, when it's like, wake me up when all this is over. Yeah, I think we can all pretty much, you know, associate with that one. And I Love It by Icona Pop. As you can tell, these are all like pop songs that I've definitely probably danced to. And I already have like choreographed routines in my head to them. But Icona Pop is definitely it's a kind of a horrible song, actually, to be honest with you. But it's one that I always just like get like super pumped up, because it's like one where it's like, I don't care whatever's going on. I'm just focused on like whatever's in front of me right now. And so I've always kind of lived my life that way, where it's like, I need to stop thinking about everyone else, like everyone else's opinions, whatever's going on, and just focus on like the task at hand. And so that would be that song. Whenever I was like in college, I'd say, I would always listen to the song Little Girl by Tim McGraw. Throw a little country in here for you. I actually do love country as well. It's not the best for dancing. And I would
well, it is if it's the achy breaky,
that's very true.
Yeah.
And like Kelly and I, we had like we would do the like Hoedown Throwdown by Miley Cyrus all the time. Knew the entire dance. And yeah, Little Girl by Tim McGraw was definitely like one of those that like I would always think about, because like I was away at Florida, and so I'd always I'm definitely like a family girl at heart. And so I would always think about, like I am like definitely like a daddy's little girl type. So it was that song that would always connect me back to my family. And a playlist. Oh, let's see here. I'm going to have to also say my older sister's recommendation to this question and say Born to Be Wild, because I've definitely lived a life off probably many people's like types of paths and gone always my own way in direction, and that's just me and who I am. So I'm kind of used to that by now. So I don't even really think about it. But of course, my family is 100% like, oh yeah, Holly, she does whatever she probably feels like in that moment.
Holly is off being Holly. It's all good.
Exactly. Oh, yes.
One of the things that kind of came up as you were, putting that list together is, like you even came out and said, yeah, some of these are really bad songs. How much, when you're putting a choreography together, or when you're, tasked with putting a choreography together, how much do you need to like the song to be able to work a routine to it?
I mean, I've definitely choreographed to songs that like I did not love. And it was the song itself was handed to me saying, create this. And so it's always enjoyable to do it to songs that you like. But sometimes I've also found myself where I didn't like the song at first and I'll end up loving it by the end just because I love the choreography that's attached to it. And so a lot of those songs that I definitely started out not loving at the beginning. I Love It by Okana Pop. Like that was definitely one that I was like, what is this? And then over time I was like, I love this song. This is like hilarious and great. Like they just don't care. Sure. And that's what then led me to basically loving it in the end, is just the choreography that I kind of attached to it.
So it's basically immersion therapy. You will like it eventually. Yeah.
You really don't have a choice. You're going to need to find a way to fall in love with it.
For anyone who's thinking about, either virtually or down the road in person attending a Runway Dance Connection event, what would you say to them?
I would say get ready for the best time of your life. And you're also going to meet some of the most inspiring, truly incredible, and also motivating people that you never thought that you would. Whether that's through the faculty or through other dancers or through other studios that you've never heard of. And so that to me means the world, because it's all about, as I grow up, I also learned that it's all about who you know. And so you're going to meet some of the most incredible people that you never even knew existed or had heard about until coming to our event, and being able to also be a part of like a new family and have so much fun at the end of the day. So that's what I would say to anyone who's thinking about it. Feel free to come out and reach out to us, info@runwaydanceconnection.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook at Runway Dance Connection, and reach out to any of us. And we will gladly talk you through all the registration, all the fun. And I really hope that anyone who's thinking about it absolutely signs up, because I promise you will 100% never regret it.
And the other thing I want to bring up as well is that you've pretty much lived a life so far where you have chased dream after dream after dream, which is amazing, right? Because dreams are meant to be chased. But for someone who maybe doesn't want to follow your path, but wants to follow that goal chasing, dream chasing path, what would you say to them?
I would say when they're 90 years old, can they say to themselves that they've lived a life that they chose? I'd say ask yourself that. And if you can say 100%, I went after everything that I ever wanted to do or accomplish since I was a kid, you're killing it. Great job. But if you can say in that moment that like, oh, I really wish I could have done that. Or I wish I maybe just like looked into that a little more. Like, we're in a global pandemic. Like, this is the time, right? So absolutely. Like it's now or never at the end of the day. And so you can either be old and always regretting and kind of wishing you did something, or do it now. And I know it's not that easy. I 100% know that. I was very lucky to grow up with a family that's always been very supportive of me pushing and running and chasing my dreams. Absolutely. I know it's not easy. All I can say is like, if you were thinking about maybe going into acting, take an acting class. Or if you were wanting to become a famous musician, go introduce yourself to someone that can hopefully either teach you something about music or can introduce you to someone. Because it's a big game that you have to play, and just it's all about who you know and getting yourself out there and just trying. Because yeah, you're going to make mistakes. I've made a billion mistakes, but at the end of the day, you just got to try.
I'll always remember, fail is not fail. It's actually first attempts in learning. Holly, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. It has been an absolute pleasure having you. Where can we find you on social media, and when is the next Runway Dance Connection event?
Thank you so much for having me first. Oh my goodness, this has been so much fun. I can't believe where the time just went, but everyone can find me at Holly Nimens on both Facebook and Instagram. And our next Runway Dance Connection event is coming up May 15th and 16th. It's a 2-day dance competition. We are super excited. You can go online, register now at www.runwaydanceconnection.com. Click that register button, and I promise you won't regret it.
And to all of you listening right now, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the Made You a Mixtape podcast. If you're listening to us on an audio streaming service, you can watch this entire interview on YouTube. But if you're watching us on YouTube right now, hi. You can actually download the episode on any of the audio streaming services: Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Deezer, you name it, we're probably there. Download it and listen to it on the go. Thank you so much. This has been the Major Mixtape Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at the MYAM Podcast. We will see you or listen to you, or you'll hear us next time. Take care.